So welcome to Community Mind Chatter's 8th podcast of 2021. And today we've got myself, Emma from Inspired to Change Spalding, and of course Vanessa from Community Mind Matters. And we've got our guest speaker here today, who is Scott Warren, the budget wizard, as I know him. I know Scott as, well, we know Scott, Vanessa and I know Scott as the finance guy who's been doing some fantastic work for Community Mind Matters, which we're extremely grateful to him for. And we thought we'd get Scott on the podcast today so we can just have a bit more understanding about who Scott is and mostly how he can then help people in the community. So welcome, Scott. It's really nice to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And hello, Vanessa, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you very much. So shall we just start then by, I know you, Scott, as I said, as the finance guy, but I know that you wear loads of different hats and you've got your fingers in many different pies. So can you just give us a bit of an idea of what you do?
So so I'm a city councillor as well. So I'm really passionate about helping the community, fighting for the community. I'm also chair of a academy council for schools as well. So helping schools get them to achieve what they need to achieve in schools and helping kids really to actually make sure they achieve their education. I think it's so important that we don't have that support for kids. So it's making sure that we help children with schools. So yes, chair of governors, and I also have another little side hat where I do health and safety. Not a little thing, but yeah, with the academy council. So I run an academy council. So when I'm not doing that, and when I'm not doing council work, I'm also doing chair of governors, and I think I'm also sorting out a Christmas fair as well at the same time. A few other little minor community projects I do as well. So there's about 6 or 7 hats that I can juggle at the same time.
As well as your finance work?
As well as my finance work.
Wow, you must have a very, very busy, busy lifestyle.
It can be quite busy and quite chaotic. It depends which goes on. Once you get everything set up and organised, it kind of works. It's when you get the spike of the unknown, all of a sudden you've got to go, right, okay, I need attention for that. And when you've got a busy diary and your diary's already 2 weeks ahead and you're fitting things in, you're going like, oh crap, I've got to try and fit something in right now. So it works if it goes all nice and smooth, but we all know it doesn't go smooth at all. And when it doesn't go smooth, then it all goes.
That's life, isn't it? That always comes.
Life, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. So, okay, so you obviously have a bit of a passion for finance, and also helping people in the community. So, where has that kind of come from? Where's that? Why finance? And why have you got that desire to help people? Where's that come from?
So that's come from my personal experiences. You know, unfortunately in 2016 I lost everything. And I mean, you know, I ended up losing my job, and I'm not going to go too much into that because it's uncomfortable talking about it, but it's unfair of the company to talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
But there are no longer there, and it's not my business to do that. And all that, so I don't talk about it. Just don't want to be fair to the company. Again, it's just bad people at a bad company, bad experience. That's it. I'm not going to do anything about the company. So it's from that losing my job, I lost everything. You know, I lost my house, I lost my car. You know, I lost my independence. I lost pretty much everything. I've done what most people did. I've gone and I literally ran in the garden, buried him in the garden, and thought everything would be fine. And I can tell you that now, it's never going to happen. You know, I was never fine. You know, I've done the kind of where you get a brown envelope and I stick it aside and don't want to talk about it. I've had it where I could take where a guy has knocked on the door to deliver to them on a chest, and I've gone in the cupboard. So I know the pressures that people come from. And it's using that experience and realizing that I've got a skill in finance. So I can come with a different hat into finance, because you get a lot of people who are in finance who come from finance but don't understand the person. I've come into finance I understand the person, I understand the systems, I understand why the systems don't work. So I'm just there to help people get to where they want to be. And I think it's just nice to help people, give them a bit of a leg up, and to actually fight the system and show them actually how to achieve a bit more life in what they've got to do.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned you lost everything, which must have been, you can't imagine how that might have felt. What was it that turned things around for you, where you took your head out of the sand, you unburied your head from the garden and went, right, what happened there? What was the turnaround?
I think the turnaround was actually changing my situation and circumstances. I took myself from being an employed to a self-employed. And it's that mindset shift from being all of a sudden that this person's telling you what to do, and he's telling you, no, you don't do it, you should be doing it this way and doing it that, to actually take control of myself. Control of my situation has helped me change to where I need to be. And it's that shift of, all of a sudden now I've got to think about everything and putting that food on the table, putting the money into the bank to pay the food, to pay the bills, to pay the house, and get in that mindset. So it's a shift of mindset to say, well, actually, I just had enough of employees. I've had enough of bosses telling me what to do. Maybe also it might be wrong because another boss has said it's actually this, and squabbles going all over the place. It feels like it's part of a playground. I just went, I'll tell you what, I'm going to try the self-employed route. And it's helped me change that mindset to achieve what I want to achieve. It's that shift from being employed to self-employed.
Yeah. And that finance knowledge that you had that before? Is that something that you gained along the way?
It's something that I've always had. So we had to really dial it back, and it was a really strange thing. So, when we had that careers advice when we were a little while, I know it's not too long for you, Emma. I know it wasn't too long ago when you had that career advice. But when we had that career advice, the careers advice for me was shipping clerk or something with numbers. So the finance has been there, and then the college put me into computer science. So hold on, I've got careers advice saying actually I should be in finance. I listened to the people, and they put me into computer science, which is very odd and very strange. So the computer finance should have happened a lot sooner. It's just kind of, sometimes it's saying there's a blessing and there's a generous path. And what I've done, and I've got to look at it, is saying, well, actually, the finance was there, but I've got now the generous path of the experience that I can bring it all wrapped up into one good, nice product that helps people deal with finances. I can deal with people, and I understand the people, the difficulties that they're going with the finance. So the finance, and I've helped my family members achieve financial freedom. So from when I was before college, I've had the financial knowledge, using that expertise to help my families out. Even though I was in a bad position, I was still helping my families out get in a better position. I then said, well, actually, can I actually do this business and help more people out, help them achieve that freedom, help bring families together? And it's kind of, the answer is yes.
And because you've been at that point where you said, I've lost everything, I lost my house, I lost my car, you've been in the position where you've almost started from the bottom financially and had to, work yourself back up to being, a successful finance, advisor, and having the ability to then help out in all of these other different places, in schools, in the community. So you've been there, you've done it, you've got that experience. So when you're talking to anybody in any financial position, you've got some kind of connection there with them. Is that, would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, it's understanding of where the point of they're coming from. And I think everything we need to do, and a lot of systems, a lot of people don't really have the understanding of the person and where they're coming from. And that's where a lot of people are falling down, because they talk to people and they don't really understand the person and understand the motives, understand why all of a sudden they're having a bad day and they want to go off and buy a handbag or buy a pair of shoes rather than pay the rent. It's not they don't want to pay the rent, they're just having that bad day, having that bad thing, that something's going on and something's going wrong, that actually, I'll tell you what, it's terrible at the moment. I just can't afford to dealing with those finances. I just need that nice bit of retail therapy. I get it. We all sometimes, we all have our different go-to points, all have our different duvet moments. But I get that person on why they do that. A lot of people don't understand what goes through a person's brain, because everyone else has different moments, different stuff going on in their lives. And sometimes it's just too hard to actually deal with paying day-to-day bills.
Yeah.
And nice to have a bit of retail therapy, food therapy, whatever it is they want to go for.
Yeah, it's like a coping mechanism, isn't it? Spending money. It's,
Yeah.
you know, some people turn to alcohol, some people gamble, some people eat too much or too little, some people spend money. It's that dopamine hits, that almost that control. And
That was my spending money.
yeah,
Buying a handbag, buying, you know, going, yeah, I can relate to everything you're saying because I was that person, you know, so I've got to have that new, I've got to look good, I've got to do this, you know, to hide everything else that's going on, you know.
it's really easy for anybody to get sucked into that, isn't it?
A lot
Yeah.
of debt you can.
Yeah.
Especially with sort of media and marketing saying, oh, you need this, you need that, and why don't you look so much better if you have this new handbag? How pretty is this? And it's really easy to get sucked down that path, definitely.
Okay.
So Scott, so you're out there helping people, and you obviously with the financial side of things. How did the academy and schools? How did you get into that?
It goes through the council work. You know, again, being that local person, local council work, it comes through that. You know, being there on the doorstep, being part of the streets. You know, I say I don't hold my court in an office. I don't hold my court. I hold my court in the streets. And I think a lot of people have got to realise that I'm all about dealing with stuff. We're dealing with being on the streets. We know it's difficult sometimes with people. Council finances, we don't want to talk about. It's a real definition. But you know that I'm on the streets to fight your cause. I'm not there to fight to get elected. I'm there to fight and beside you and deal with the people that not want to deal with you, the officers that sometimes don't want to deal with you. I will come beside you and fight against the council, which is a completely bizarre kind of example. You know, oh, you're part of the council. You're just going to say what the council was. No, I kind of will actually, I'll fight for you and I'll fight against the council. And sometimes I tell the council, actually, that's not right at all. You know, it's fighting against the people. So it came through the council work.
Wow. And where did the council work come from?
The council work came through a complete accident. So it's kind of, I just kind of always had a bug for travel. It's a really strange story. So I just wanted to get out there and explore. I think sometimes we always like to travel, but I like to explore the unusual, the strange places. So, you know, there's some really good, nice places out there, but they're not really well visited and well resourced. So I started to think, well, actually, I can just be an activist. And so I'll just go and travel down the country, up and down the country, delivering leaflets, knocking on doors, just so I can see the country. And just a way to get out and see the country, give myself a purpose to go and see places in the UK that I would never normally go and see. And all of a sudden, the local chairman came along and seen what I was doing and said, well, actually, we've got a slot here. Would you mind coming and standing for election? And I went, you know, like we always say, I said, yeah, I'm not knowing what I'm getting in. I said, yeah, no problem, I'll do that. And I did it. And all of a sudden I started going knocking out of my ward, being an election, actually helping people. And I just felt that real buzz. Didn't get in, took me 2 times. Third time I got in lucky. And now people are really kind of regretting that they didn't get me in first time because of the amount of difference I've made to the area in my short time period. And it's just nice to actually help people get there and get to what they want. And there's been some cracking cases that I've helped people who wouldn't have actually got their cases, and there's some real bad stuff that would happen to these people. So
is there anything in particular that you are allowed to share with us without giving away names or anything where you feel specifically proud of, oh, I've helped to achieve that or change that, make a difference there? Is there anything that really stands out?
yeah, I'm probably number blind because I've had so much, done so much. I think it's helping a family who are struggling with their house situation because they've had some medical stuff going on. So they struggle with their financial stuff, this time housing situation, and helping them sort out their housing situation, helping them into a better place, better house that's going to suit their medical needs when everyone else has kind of turned their back on them. And I've stood there and fight, and sometimes it'll come in at 11 o'clock at night, there'll be a Facebook message, and we actually kind of go, actually, yeah, okay, we'll deal with that, get it on with it, and helping that family get from where they was to being in a place where they could be in a better place that meets their needs and requirements.
We were talking just before this podcast went live about how systems don't really fit people, and you try and do your best to enable the person to I think I've got this the wrong way round. but for them to work well together, rather than, people get pushed away, they don't get the help they need because the system doesn't work for them. But you try and change that, don't you?
Absolutely. So yeah, I change this. I get the system to fit the person, wherever the person sits, it's great. Sometimes great systems work. We can't all say that, but the system never works for 100% for a person. There's always going to be this minority that can't work to the system. So you've got to get, and that's where the system fails. And what I do is I put the system to the person, understand the person, where they're going from, how to do it, and how to get the system working for the person, rather than the person working in the system.
Yeah, and that's really important because systems and things, they work for the majority, but it's like you said, there's that minority, that 5%, where it just doesn't quite work, does it? And they just don't get the help that they want, and they get overlooked. So that's fantastic. That must be like you said, a really good buzz, and that feeling that you get when you've helped someone. I mean, Vanessa and I, we know that very well. It really encourages you to do more, doesn't it, and keep going, and so that's why you've got all of those things that you're doing and helping with Community Mind Matters as well.
He's very good with people, very good with people. People warm to him, and thing is, that's the first thing. If people feel comfortable with somebody, they open up, and they don't feel, especially my members, this strange person comes in, he's going to help me. A lot of people would say, yeah, all right, because they're so fed up with the systems letting them down that actually they don't feel like that. Because Scott actually is saying what he says. He's not gonna paint a lovely picture. He's telling them how it is and helping them through it and finding their way instead of because I think with some things, don't quote me if I'm wrong, everybody's different, aren't they? And everybody's way is different. That's why systems sometimes don't work, because that person is different, like you said.
Yeah. No, there is, there's that every person is actually different. Once everyone gets extinct, unfortunately it's not that's nice, but everyone's different. Everyone is different, and everyone, there is. I think you have to have a room of about 40,000 people to get 1, 2 that are going to be like each other, or similar. So you think, you're going to have a whole room before you get. So everyone's different. Everyone has different characteristics, different ways of doing things, and that's where the problem is. The system's great and brilliant, but what about when it doesn't work? What you do there? And that's the problem as well. And that's where I feel the gap. I'm not going to discredit all the other organisations, but a lot of the organisations, they just follow the system, follow the rules. I've come out as an independent, and I just follow what I do for the person. I understand the person, and then understand the system, put the system around the person. And you've got organisations, even some of the debt relief charges, they get the person, they put the person into the system. But then I look at the person and fit the system around the person.
Yeah. And from personal experience of working with Scott, helping us as a family, what I also like is he doesn't use that sort of financial jargon that nobody understands. Everything's quite clear, and you articulate it in a way where I understand what you're talking about. Because with lots of finance people, I haven't got a clue. So it's really nice to have somebody who talks at your level, without putting myself down. So I understand, and I can imagine that with anybody else, you again adapt your language to that person's financial.
That's really cool. So it's language, and that's the thing, and that's where I come in. It's using the language right, and I think a lot of people with the finance don't use the language or don't understand the person. So they're using the wrong language to the wrong person. And the thing is, you can blind them. It's like being blinded with science. The thing is, you've got to understand how to actually kind of cut it all down and make it understandable, palatable, and actually make it easy for a person to understand, because you don't want them to actually come back to you. It's not like that. You want them to take away and go forth and deal with these people, and deal with the systems, and deal with everything. If you make it actually break it down to what their level is and understand how things can work for them, then they can go away and actually achieve more things in finance that they can ever achieve, and that is a real big plus.
Yeah. And I guess I mean, we've spoken about this before, Scott, but the mindset around money as well, and how people think about money, and you know, the negative thoughts they have about it and the positive thoughts they have about it can really affect somebody's behaviours with money as well. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, again, we always have this kind of belief that because we're going to have money, we're going to be a bad person. And so then we don't achieve what we want to achieve. I can tell you now, that's complete and utter myth. You know, again, it doesn't matter if you have money or if you don't have money, you're not going to change the person. You know, and the thing is, you should always strive to have more money, because actually, if you have more money, you can give back more, and actually you can give people other opportunities. And I'm always about a believer of reaching back and helping people. I want to achieve more in my things and more in my finances, not because I want to be rich, but actually I want to give back and give back to other people and help other causes. You know, there's other things that I want to achieve with my finances, because I know the system is not out there at the moment. So, you know, this myth that you're going to have money to be bad is complete and utter myth. It's about going out there, getting the money that you want to do, because it gives you the opportunities in life to achieve a life. You know, we are not designed to work. I mean, Vanessa going to laugh about this, because we're not designed to work 40, 50 hours. I mean, I'll probably work about 70 at the moment because I've got that passion. But the thing is, you know, we should be working 20, 30 hours, but earning more and giving our time and doing our stuff and giving that money back to the less fortunate or the people out and helping them, bring them up, and just keep that cycle going. It's a hard track, but that's what we should be doing. We should be reaching out a lot more to earn money, but so then we can put it back into it to help more people achieve more money.
Fantastic. That sounds like a brilliant thing. Nearly swore there. So it's great to have you on and to talk a little bit more about you, but how can you just talk us through how you have been? I mean, you've been helping out with Community Mind Matters probably for a couple of months now. What is it exactly that you can offer Community Mind Matters along with Vanessa, and what have you been doing so far?
It's getting to understand the simple basics about budget. You know, the simple basics of actually putting together a household budget. We are not financially educated. I mean, if you think, you know, even someone, you know, most people cannot do financial education, but to put down a household budget and work out a budget is something that is hard for the general person. And when you've got people in the Community Mind Matters, it's really difficult, and it's helping people just to put things down onto a budget, getting to understand a bit about the benefits and how to work the benefits, and not to make sure that they can get claimed on benefits, not that, but making sure that the benefits work for them, how to contact people, how to deal with people at DWP, what is going to go through that mindset, talking to people at council about making sure that they get the right benefits in the right way, making sure that they get the right allowances, because a lot of people don't realise that there's a lot of things that they can get through universal credit. There's a lot of different ways you can work through that system, not about abusing the system, but the stuff that you should be doing or could be doing that can help you along your way, your journey to get a job, to get a better broadband, to get all kinds of stuff that helps you get forward where you need to be in life. And it's about showing how to access that system.
And I guess when you are struggling with your mental health, even, you know, the simplest of things like getting up and getting dressed can be really a major task. And so when it comes to finances, that can feel like this big overwhelming thing that, you know, you couldn't even possibly think about. And so when you've got somebody there, not to hold your hand, but to guide you through step by step, that can be a massive weight off somebody's shoulders, somebody's mind, especially when it's something that you may not have any experience around or any knowledge about. So that's I mean finances is a major cause of poor mental health. So, you know, it's a taboo thing, isn't it, that we don't talk about. So having you offering your time, Scott, is completely
amazing. Do you know what? Even now, it's lovely for me, because I think, you know, because people panic. They get a letter and they go, oh, I've got this letter come through, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, if I know something, I can advise them, but I'm no expert myself. So it's nice to have Scott to go, Scott, can you look at that? You know, it's out of my league. And he knows straight away, yeah, and it's good because it's offering a service now. It's the community mind matters. It's so important. I have now got, like, there's another person to help me in a sense. How I've got another pair of, ears as well, because he's very good at listening to people as well. It's not just all about the finance. He gets to know, how you handle people is lovely. It's just really, because he gets to know them, and that's the key, because you know what will work and what won't work.
Yeah.
And and you don't, if somebody takes their time to tell you, it's fine.
Yeah.
There's no rush. You're not putting pressure on that person.
Absolutely.
Mental health can't stand pressure. I know through myself, like you said earlier, that letter had come through the door. I had a drawer, bang, there it was in that drawer. Never saw it again. Never saw it. It's gone. It's hidden. I can't see it. The problem's gone. The problem hasn't gone. It's literally still there, but I can't face it.
But it's growing. It's growing.
It's
You can't see it.
growing.
It's growing, but you can't see it. It's kind of, and that's it.
And
because you can't deal with it. You can't do it because you can deal with it.
And a lot of people that I come into contact with are exactly the same. They can't deal with it. And then it mounts up. But actually, you've got to deal with it. You have to deal with it, because it's not going nowhere. It's just going to come back and, be even worse, really. So having Scott on board now, so, it's just so lovely that, and having that, that extra time for people to go, well, I've got a month to think about it. There's something I need to speak to Scott about. And it gives you a bit of time to prepare. We had a good session today, didn't we?
Really good session. Yeah, really good session today.
I'm grateful, so grateful, because it's nice. It's nice to. It's a nice feeling when you've helped somebody. They're going to sleep a bit better tonight. That's another little bit of weight off their shoulders for tonight. Can't sort out all the problems, but we can make a start.
Make a start, and that's it. And the thing is, when you're dealing with some mental health, you don't want to say, right, okay, let's deal with all these problems. Let's just take one chunk.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's get that dealt with and sorted, and let's put it with nice wraps in the bow there. Right, okay, what's next? Let's see if we can do that. It may take 4, 5. That's fine. We've just got to take it step by step. We've got to make sure that they don't run before they can walk. And we just walk them through a nice, gentle process. Deal with things in nice, manageable chunks and not unload them. I mean, we see it sometimes. You get this big, list when you go like that and go, right, I've got to try and deal with all this list. And kind of go like that. And I just go, right, okay, what's the priority? Let's break it down. What's the priority? What needs to be done today? That's going to hurt you if you don't do it today. What can we say? Right, okay, and then what do next? And then we do next, and we get to where you want to be.
It's breaking it down into small steps, isn't it? Small, tiny, dealable steps where we've got that capacity to be able to deal with it. And it's fantastic that you're on board. And thank you from all of the Community Mind Matters team for offering your time.
I feel privileged to actually, to have somebody that because it's very, very rare.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rare. It's rare. And it's, for me, I'm a bit like you. I like to get to know the person. I like to get to know what I'm doing with somebody because I can help them.
Yeah.
But and I don't want to keep banging on about these systems going wrong. They don't have the time.
Yes.
But with what we do with my organisation, it doesn't matter.
No.
We still follow everything, but it's more to get to know that person. I'm all about the people, not about anything else.
And that's the crucial, and that's the thing. It's the person, and that's what you've got to understand. It's the person. It's not about so much the finances. It's the person, and all the other things will just follow through. It's understanding that person and where they're coming from. Then all the other stuff will follow through. All the finances, everything else will follow through.
Wow. So if anybody is or knows anybody who is struggling financially and just need that little bit of help or guidance or advice, and then they can always contact Vanessa or anybody through the Community Mind Matters Facebook page or the podcast page, Community Mind Chatters. All the details are there. So thank you so much, Scott. Thank you, Vanessa, for your time.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you to Jack in the background. He's always there, isn't he? And we will see you again next time. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.